We've got flags and banners, and if you mind your manners, we might even get to standards and what they represent. So just take my voice's hand and we'll both try to understand how this Vexilla Logic podcast could be flagged for content. Flagged for content.
What's up, Vex Heads? Welcome to episode 10 of Flagged for Content. It's the only podcast. And I've got a little bit of housekeeping to get out of the way, as usual, but not too much. First and foremost, wanted to encourage everyone to go to our Discord, which will be always in the show notes, linked from flagged.rocks, etc. But if it weren't for the Discord, this episode would not have happened. So, if you want to join in with us, head over there. Second, as usual, I would love to shout out our Instagram winner. This week, it was the Flag of the Faroe Islands that we covered in episode 1. And the winner was at CWT302. And that's Curtis. He's in our Discord, speaking of that. And he's given me tons of good ideas. He'll be on an upcoming episode at some point. And yeah, go give him a follow. He's really into flags. He's really into drum corps international stuff, like marching band type stuff, if you're into that. And he just started a Discord for his drum corps stuff as well. So yeah, go check him out. Also giving a shout out to at Flags on Our Buildings, all one word, because they also got it right, but they were second, and they asked me to. And you know what? I was feeling pliable. And thirdly, you know what? At MR Flag, at Mr. Flag, got it correct as well. They're a flag shop in Swansea, Wales. So go check them out. I just ordered a few flags today from them. At CWT302, you were first, but I was feeling generous this week. Anyway, couple like fundraising things too. I know I've been plugging Kevin's from episode 9, but a guy that works at the bar that I used to work at in Knoxville has his apartment caught fire. Not just his unit, actually didn't start in his unit, but his building caught fire. And that's Tyler Cochran. So I would appreciate it if anybody would like to go check out his GoFundMe. I'm going to link that in our flagged.rocks as well. Also, I had a car wreck last Friday, and I've been in kind of a rough headspace, and if you feel like donating to the Ko-Fi or whatever, or the Patreon, if you want to subscribe to that, you know, all that would be appreciated. But don't feel like you need to do anything at all. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it, other than I would encourage everyone to check the show notes and to follow us on Instagram, because I am going to post pretty extensively about this episode, especially the flags that we talk about near the end that are at Les Invalides in Paris. So yeah, definitely check that. Check the show notes as well for some links to articles that we talk about in the episode. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into the episode. We have got an amazing guest for you this week. You know him from the DMZ. You know him from Baghdad 2003. And you know him from our Discord with the clever handle of Eric. It's Eric!
Thanks for having me, Andy.
Yeah, man, how you doing?
Oh, you know, living a life.
Yeah, you were saying kind of a long day, I guess.
For retirement.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're a little closer to it than I am, but not not enough.
I spent four hours in federal mediation today, so that's been kind of draining.
Oh, wow. That sounds like a blast.
Contract negotiations and...
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, so that sounds fun. And then you get to, you know, come home, hang out for a bit, and talk about flags.
Yeah.
Even more fun.
It wasn't that long ago when my wife was looking kind of over my shoulder when I was on Discord, and I was looking at all the flags that people were designing, and she's like, "Are you on a Discord for flags?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am." And I started talking about the podcast. She's like, "Are you gonna do the podcast?" And I'm like, "He asked me to, so yeah, maybe." And
Yeah,
she's like, "God, you're such a nerd." I'm like, "Yeah, well, that happens. You married me."
exactly. Yeah. You won. So, yeah, we all have our things. Like my dad, I was talking to my dad about this because like I've determined that like his thing is like Civil War stuff. Like he goes to these Civil War roundtables and they go to the battlefields that are close enough that are driving range, which here in Tennessee is a few. I think maybe like the most, maybe second to Virginia, I forget. But I was talking to him and I was like, I think flags are like my version of your Civil War roundtable stuff because like I don't know, like especially the further I get into it, the more I start digging and the more things I inevitably sign myself up for, like NAVA, the North American
Hmm.
Vexillologic Association. So now I get like newsletters from them, like he gets from the Civil War stuff, and yeah, it's all
It's fun having a
cyclical.
hobby that's hard to pronounce.
I know I say it like twice an episode, and I always get it wrong, at least multiple times sometimes. But yeah, no, you are in the Discord for flags, and I put out a call just so the listeners know they should join the Discord for one thing. But if you're not in there, I had put out a call for episode ideas. Just generally, I wasn't that I was out of them, but I like to kind of democratize the show as much as possible. And you came up with a really interesting one that I had not thought of before. And so I was like, well, shoot, who can I get on to talk about that? And then, duh, no brainer. The guy who suggested it, because hey, you might know what the hell you're talking about. Like,
Yeah.
I had never even heard some of these stories that we're gonna go over. So, yeah, you're maybe the first. I don't know if you'll balk at this, but expert, witness, I guess that I've had on the show.
Yeah, definitely not an expert, not getting paid for it, but it's an interest, and I uh, I come from a military background. I was in the Army for 4 years. I enlisted in 2000, but was actually in basic training my second week on 9/11.
Ugh.
Uh, yeah, and after I went through all my training, I went to Korea for a year, and then after that to Germany, where I was very quickly sent to Baghdad for 15 months, and then came back to Germany. They told us they were getting rid of my job, and I got out and went to college. So, but also my dad was in the army. Well, he's in the National Guard for 8 years, and both my grandfathers and I had a great grandfather also who served in World War I on
Oh,
our side.
nice. Yeah, yeah. That's awesome, man. Yeah, like I said, I'm sure some people were wondering after that intro that I gave you, like, wait, he's from what now? So, yeah, that explains it. Especially the DMZ in Korea there on was it the
Yeah, not
38th parallel?
30th
Yeah.
parallel. Yeah, not many people actually get to spend time at the DMZ. It's demilitarized, which of course it just means it's pretty much only military.
Yeah.
But it's a very interesting landscape, very hilly, and there's a lot of civilians that have farms, and there's actually a lot of wildlife that has returned to the area because of the lack of constant human interaction, and
Right. Makes
uh,
sense.
so it's pretty interesting. It's weird. The place that I would go and do patrols out of was directly across the border from what's the world's largest flag is a North Korean flag, and it's surrounded by a fake village.
I've seen this.
Yes,
Pictures of this.
it's
Yeah.
it's weird because like the lights in the village will all turn on at the exact same time. You never see anybody in the streets. No one's walking. There's no donkey carts, and the only people you ever see are North Korean military units like doing PT runs through the town. So it's kind of weird. You just kind of sit there and look at it, and there's this giant flag,
Yeah.
and that's it. That in a fake village.
That's got to
So
be eerie or, yeah, I don't know the word
it's
exactly.
weird to look at because
Bizarre. Yeah.
it looks. I mean, there are houses that are built, and there's shops and things, but it's all just empty.
There's just
and it's
nothing
all
in them.
just for propaganda. I believe that they erected that flag in 1988 when Seoul hosted the Summer Olympics. And that was North Korea trying to have some sort of show of power and force and dominance. So they made a bigger flag than the big South Korean one that was flying.
Yeah. It's not like, I was going to say, it's not like Seoul's close to the border. It's not like they were like, we want to make sure you can see it from.
Well, it's not that close, but it's very close.
I guess it is fairly, yeah.
It's, I think it's like within 50 miles.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah.
It's within artillery range.
Right. Just not giant flag viewing range.
No.
But yeah, I'm sure they'd rather be out of artillery range. The flag is kind of whatever. But
yeah.
Yeah, no, that is awesome. So you've seen the world's largest flag with your own eyes. That is very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, so I'd say all of that makes you more or less uniquely qualified, at least among my guests, to talk about what we're going to talk about today, which, if it's fine with you, I'm going to go ahead and lead into.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you know how the show works. You've listened. The first flag that I pull up is going to be one that I describe to you, and then I'm going to have you guess it, and then I'll put it in our chat.
Okay.
This first flag is termed as such: a white field with a large red disc shifted slightly to the hoist side of center with 16 red rays emanating from the disc. Does that sound like anything you might recognize?
Is that the Japanese Empire flag?
Indeed it is. I will go ahead and, not that you probably even need it, but I'll go ahead and put it in the chat there once it uploads. Yeah, that's the one in question here. And so you can kind of get a sense of where I'm going with this, especially given we're talking war flags and kind of capture, well, surprise, we're talking a couple captured flags later in the episode. But yes, this is the War Ensign of Japan. They first started using it in 1870, and up until present day, it's actually still the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force, which was established in 54. Uses a slightly different, it's the same flag with a slightly different red. But yeah, still in use today, which I actually did not know.
I did, yeah. I thought after World War II, it just went to the red circle and the white field. This image really sticks out to me as from the Karate Kid. I think it was Karate Kid Part 2. Doesn't he have this is a headband?
I think so, yeah. I think it's 2, yeah. No, it's very famous, very well known. Like, either the current Japanese, civil flag, just the centered red disc, or this one. Like, I think most people around the world look at either and know automatically what they're looking at.
Yeah. No, it's a striking flag, honestly. Like it's got such dynamics to it. Like it's just like exploding out, and my eyes keep want to follow the rays like off of the flag. Like it's just moving. Like it's a striking flag.
It does, yeah. It does almost kind of have some like movement to it, or implied anyway. Yeah, it's very striking. I like, from a purely design standpoint, I like this one a lot. I'm not gonna lie.
Here's a technical question.
Sure.
Could this technically be considered a red field with white rays emanating from a circle? There's a lot more red to it than there is white.
You're right. I have no idea. I think the way that they come to a lot of those, conclusions as far as the designs go is just based on like whoever designed it. So if whoever designed it said it's a white field with red, all that. Yeah. But yeah, that's a really good question. I don't know the answer to that. But you're right. There is a lot more red on it than there is white.
Do you have a description of what it represents, or, because Japan is the land of the rising sun. If it's just a reflection of the sun rays coming over, like that would make more sense for it to be white field. But I don't know if they have a meaning behind it.
I couldn't find anything. It's definitely supposed to be the rising sun, and you know why Japan is it used to be Empire of the Rising Sun because it's so far east and everything. I couldn't find anything historical about the 16 red rays. That's what I was really like, I guess, digging the most into was like, why 16? Is it just an aesthetic decision? Is it, there are
How many
16,
prefectures they have.
16, yeah, of those. I think there's actually more than 16 of those though. And I'll admit I didn't do the most research on this, but nothing that I could find gave any description that other than just that it was aesthetic, basically.
It's a really cool flag. Like, I can't take my eyes off of it, honestly. Like, it's so interesting, and even after just looking at it for a period of time, and kind of get like that weird figure on background where like the color's changing a little bit on me, and it's like, it's pretty cool.
Or I could see like stare at that for a really long time and then close your eyes.
Yeah,
be one of those. But it is the rising sun, and you shouldn't stare at the sun. So,
especially during an eclipse.
Exactly. Or a supernova, which this kind of looks like.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, aesthetically, I find it really pleasing. There are a few places in the world that find it less pleasing, which is a bit of what we're gonna go over on this one. Right off the bat, I know that a couple of our listeners from New Zealand who are under the handle @flag_session on Instagram, they got in a little bit of hot water in New Zealand for flying this one. They're just huge flag fans, flag nerds, like we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why they're not in the Discord with all us other nerds, but whatever. And they got in a little bit of hot water. I don't know the exact details of that. If they want to, I'll have them on in an upcoming episode if they want to go over that. But it's not taken well by certain communities, of which mainly Koreans, North and South Koreans, just Koreans writ large, and Filipinos, other kind of people in that area.
I'm sure Chinese.
The weird thing about China, so I looked this up, and it's actually not that big of a deal in China. And I was like, why not? Because like the rape of Nanking and Manchuria and like all that stuff.
Their occupation.
Yeah, the occupation, which was started before World War II even, and lasted till the end of that. There were like 300,000 people killed, 20,000 women raped, and you don't have the protests. So I did a little bit more digging, and the reason is politics, basically. Which you would think, okay, but if it's politics, they should absolutely hate this. But current politics, where China, like Beijing, is trying to get as close as they can to Tokyo as far as like trade relations, things like that. Beijing plays really nice with Tokyo, and a lot of the, say in Korea, for example, a lot of the anti-this flag stuff comes from the government. And so the citizens then are like, hey, yeah, that's true. They did invade us. They did occupy us. Like, we should hate this. But in China, since the government isn't saying shit about this, the average Chinese citizen who gets most of their information from some government form, somewhere from the government, doesn't even know to be mad, or, it's not that they don't know to be mad, but...
No, they literally don't. I mean...
Yeah, I guess they really don't.
Censored and...
They really don't. I mean, yeah, or we've heard a tale anyway of how they're not taught about like Tiananmen Square and all that stuff. So I would imagine that a lot of them don't know, may not even know this flag was, I don't know, Japan's from that period.
Yeah.
But I thought that was interesting about China, because everyone else that's like kind of, Indonesia, the Philippines, Korea, both Koreas, all of them despise this and will not allow it at like sporting events or anything like that. But China's cool with it because Beijing is. Some other like interesting tidbits that I came up with for this. It's been banned by FIFA. So no international football. And Japan, or maybe the Japanese like football federation, I don't know if it was the country or the federation or association, has been sanctioned for having fans who have been waving it at matches, especially matches with like South Korea. And, it's kind of just like a troll move, it seems like.
Yeah.
I mean, it rises well above that, I guess, but yeah. And,
well, you had talked about, I think it was you were talking about the Saudi Arabian flag was part of FIFA's ball, and Saudi Arabia got really mad because it says "God is great" on it
Yeah.
or something of that nature.
Yeah, it's got the, what's it called, the
So
Shahada or whatever.
I think so.
And yeah, what do you do with a football? You kick it, or soccer ball. And so, yeah, it was because, yeah, people were kicking the God is great thing. Yeah, the Saudi one, you can't fly at half mast either because it's got the holy text on it.
Huh.
A little different. Yeah, like FIFA is, I guess I never really thought about FIFA having like flag rules, but it makes sense that they do. Especially, I know FIFA doesn't do like association football or whatever it's called, like Premier League in England and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But like the amount of like, the hooliganism and like the racism and stuff that just pops up at those things, I guess FIFA had to get a handle on some flags and stuff.
Yeah.
And this was really
Soccer.
interesting. The last little tidbit that I found about this one is, like you said, yeah, Karate Kid or Karate Kid 2, it comes up a lot in media. And one place that I definitely remember it coming up from my childhood was Street Fighter 2. I know.
E Honda.
Yeah, E Honda. I can't remember if it's like in the background of his stage or like on his belt or both.
Like maybe after a win.
It might be something like that. I can see it like even like almost like moving or like, like that in my head. But yeah, Capcom went back and just last year in 2021, they removed it from Street Fighter 2.
Wow.
So like any new, like if you get it on Steam or wherever online, it will not be there. I don't know what they replaced it with. I couldn't find that. Presumably just the civil flag with just the sun.
Well, I think his flag on the character select screen was just the Japanese flag. But I feel
rings
like
true.
it was after a win, or maybe during like the pre-fight "I'm gonna beat you up" little dialogue screen. It might have been behind him, and it might be implied because you may not see the red circle behind him.
Yeah. We're both sitting in front of computers. I'm going to look this up. Because I honestly can't remember. You are definitely correct that it's when you pick him, like on the character select, it's just the little flag, like under him or whatever. Okay, I found it. I can send you the pics of this too. So that is the before. Yeah, so you can see where this is going.
Yeah.
And here's the after. So yeah, for the listeners, it's in the background of his stage, and it's like on this. I think that's
it's like a bathhouse.
Bathhouse. Could you break that? No, you can't break that.
No.
Nah, it's a different thing. But they replace it with just the civil ensign now. It looks like, or the civil flag.
I mean, that's like a remaster completely because he looks swole.
Yeah. I think that one definitely is. This might be a better one. Okay. You can't see like the top left of it there, but you can definitely tell that there aren't rays going toward the Mount Fiji.
Yeah.
I presume. Yeah. Is this good podcasting? Does this work?
I'm enjoying it.
I'll for the listeners.
I love Street Fighter 2.
Anybody who's listening to a podcast about a visual medium is already kind of like, they know what they're in for. So, but dude, me too. I was never good at fighting games, but like with the exception of Street Fighter 2, I think because I had it on the SNES.
Yep.
So I could practice at home, instead of Mortal Kombat, which I didn't have. And I guess it was just simple.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, my guy was Zangief. Nobody ever uses him because he kind of sucks, but I just like the big dude who just bear hug you to death.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I never really picked. I think I was Dulcie more often than not because he could stretch.
Mm-hmm. And the fire.
Yeah. Yeah, or actually Blanca was an early favorite of mine. Definitely when I was little, cuz he's a green dude with orange hair. Like, how do you not love that?
Yeah. He shocks people.
Yeah, plus that's one of the easier moves because it's just like you hold down and just tap X or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's X. I still like kind of have the muscle memory from it almost.
We would have sleepovers and we'd just like just close our eyes and move around the screen and then pick a guy, and whoever that was is whoever you fought with for that round. And we'd have, at the end of the night, we'd be like 51-49 just playing for hours on end.
Yep. Plus, you get good at all the characters that way, whereas I was good at like two. I did pick E Honda sometimes, not for his cool flag on his stage, but for his like He's got a little bit of a reach with that hand thing that goes like nonstop.
Mm-hmm. And that
cool.
flying headbutt was always pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, welcome to Are You Talking Street Fighter 2 to me? No. That's most of what I had on Japan's. It's just like, I wanted to bring it up before we get into these stories that we're going to get into, just because when I was thinking of war flags, just like writ large as an umbrella topic, that was, well, there's one other one that I'm never going to go over. Although that was a civil flag too, technically. But this is the one that came to mind, I guess. And it's weird because like in Japan, it's like if a fisherman has a particularly good day out fishing, he'll fly this to signal a good catch, I think it's called, when he's sailing back in. So that everyone knows like, that guy did well today. You see it all over postcards and backgrounds of stuff, all that. None of which is available in South Korea, or probably sells very well if it is. But yeah, a lot of people do compare it to, I'll just go ahead and say it, the swastika, like the Nazi flag. But from a lot of what I've read, a better comparison for various reasons, it's kind of like the Confederate flag. Because, well, okay, yeah, so I found this, like, this article. It's got a few quotes pulled here. But it says, is it comparable to the swastika? There are arguments for and against. The rising sun flag has been used as a traditional national symbol of Japan for centuries and appears in advertisements and on commercial products, like I was saying. In Germany, the swastika was only used when the Nazis were in power. It's now banned in Germany, and the Nazi symbol is only used by extremist groups, right? And then it goes on, yet even though the rising sun flag has a longer history, quote, no one in Japan uses the rising sun flag for any purpose other than romanticizing and rewriting the horrible human rights abuses committed under the Japanese Empire, argues Koichi Nakano, professor of political science at Sophia University in Tokyo. And then it just says, he suggests a better comparison than the swastika is the Confederate flag in the US. And then it explains to me what the Confederate flag was, which I don't need, because 2 episodes ago we talked a lot about it. Plus, I live in Tennessee, so,
Yeah.
you know. Although I'm sure even where you live, if you go rural enough parts, there's...
Man, it's so dumb.
Mm-hmm.
We actually had a riot here in 1865 that was between some Copperheaders and some Union soldiers, where I think like 18 people died because of the whole Confederacy versus Union, and people still like heritage, not hate. I'm like, dude, you're in Illinois. It's a Union state. You didn't hail out slaves. Like, it's not heritage.
Yeah, you can't even claim heritage. Like, my dad's from Ohio, and like a lot of, once you get off the highway, a lot of the way to his old place is very rural. And I remember growing up as a kid, and like right after I'd learned about the Civil War, being like, wait, why is that up here? And yeah, he said pretty much like same thing. And yeah, you can't claim heritage in that case.
I really wonder if, God, what the hell is that TV show with the General Lee?
Oh, Dukes of Hazzard?
Dukes of Hazzard. I wonder if the Dukes of Hazzard didn't have that on the car, if it would still be anything anymore.
You mean if it would be like as like culturally prominent and like as popular and everything?
Yeah. Like if it had just kind of gone away and they didn't have it on this popular TV show that was loved by hicks and racist, and like...
Yeah, I don't know,
man.
man.
It just would have disappeared.
I honestly don't know, because other than that, it's just an orange car with like a, what, 06 or like a number on the side or something?
Yeah.
I think it has a number on the side.
There's a number. I don't know what number it is.
Right, me neither, yeah. But
I've never actually watched it.
No, me neither. Yeah, because if you take that off, then it's just an orange car with numbers, and that's not as special. Like, Knight Rider has Kit, which is special in every conceivable way. And like every other show that like features a car heavily, there's like something that makes it really special. And I think for the General Lee, it is that. And combined with the fact that it's called the General Lee, which...
Yeah.
Yeah, no. But yeah, anyway, back to I'll wrap up on the Rising Sun, and we'll get into some of your really cool stories that I'm very excited for. But I found this thing that I thought was really funny that's released from the, I don't know, some branch of the Japanese government. And it's just like a little pamphlet. There are just some funny lines in here, because this is the Japanese perspective, or the Japanese government perspective, I should say. Because that other person who explained it was a Japanese professor, or was a professor who's Japanese. And yeah, anyway, I'll just give you the official government line. Today, the design of the rising sun flag is seen in numerous scenes in daily life of Japan, such as in fishermen's banners hoisted to signify a large catch of fish, flags to celebrate childbirth, and in flags for seasonal festivities. As you all know, the design of the rising sun flag models the shape of the sun like the national flag of Japan and is widely used throughout Japan, such as good catch flags used by fishermen and celebratory flags for childbirth and seasonal festivities. Okay, thanks, you just told me that, but claims that the flag is an expression of political or discriminatory assertions are false. The government of Japan has explained, and this is my favorite part, and will continue to explain at every opportunity, its view that the display of the rising sun flag is not political promotion to the international community, including the Republic of Korea. End quote. And that was a quote from Chief Cabinet Secretary, it just says all caps KATO. I'm assuming that's the government organization, not his name, but could be his name. Just a quick note here that is his name, not the organization. So go look him up. I love that so much, though, and will continue to explain at every opportunity is such a funny wording because it's like, we know this is going to be a persistent issue that doesn't go away.
Well, but also it's like, you're dictating to people what they can or cannot infer when they use the flag.
Yes, yeah. And so much of what we talk about, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no. I mean, it's just, you can tell me all you want, but if I'm going to use it how I'm going to use it, the meaning I put behind it is the meaning I put behind it. So if I'm going to be some asshole going to a Japan-Korea soccer game and I'm flying it, it's not because I had a good catch of fish that day.
Oh, man. Although, you imagine you're doing that and somebody comes up to you and is like, all right, how much? What? How many did you catch? Oh, this? Oh, no, this is just, it's just a racist thing. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
This is just so I can be an asshole. I don't even catch fish. But yeah, no, exactly what you said. It's kind of like trying to put in your brain, no, this is what you see when you look at it, which we talk a lot on this show and just in the flag community, about flags, like whatever you see when you look at something is what you see when you look at it. Not all people will even see the same thing when they look at the Tennessee flag or the Alabama flag. When we talked about that, some people will see it as clearly a Confederate kind of throwback and some people won't. And obviously that's influenced by several factors and things, but yeah, they can't just tell people that they don't see what they see. So they can try. And this is them trying. Anyway, that's all I had on the Japanese flag, or the war flag. Yeah, the main takeaways being I had no idea it was still used, and I had no idea that China didn't see a problem with it. But those were interesting
That's
facts.
surprising.
Mm-hmm. And with that, we'll kind of move into. This is going to be the first time doing anything like this on the show, but I'm very excited for this. You've got 2 or 3 stories of captured flags that you would like to relate to our listeners, and I'll let you do those in kind of whatever order you want.
Okay, well, I have a flag for you to describe, and...
Oh shit, the tables have been turned. The flag is being flown from the fly instead of the hoist.
All right, good luck with that.
Okay, yeah. Tables have turned. All right, I will describe this bad boy. It's a blue field. It looks like, I don't know what the dimensions are. It's not super long like a national flags typically are, but it's also not quite square. It's got the U.S. eagle, or what people think of when I say that, in the middle, with its head facing toward the hoist correctly. It's got the olive branch and the arrows in its talons. Bottom, it's got like a little, flowery, I don't know, banner, or whatever those are called. I need to learn. It says 31st Infantry Regiment. It's also carrying a similar one up in its beak that says Pro Patria, for the fatherland. I can't quite tell what's above its head there, but then on its chest is a shield or a scutcheon or whatever we call those, with what looks to be a seahorse.
That's what I think.
And yeah, and it's got like some of that gold fancy fringe that you see in, like, if you have to go to court or whatever, or the DMV around the edge of the flag.
The thing directly above the eagle's head is a polar bear.
Oh man, I missed the best part.
It's the smallest part, but yeah, it's a polar bear
Okay.
for whatever reason.
Yeah. So why is this flag of interest to us?
So this flag was from the 31st Infantry Regiment, and that regiment fought in the Korean War. I would like to read something from history.army.mil on something that's called loss of colors. There is no official definition of the term loss of colors. However, the term in common usage refers to the capture of a unit's colors, flags, by the enemy in battle, or the taking away of a unit's colors as a punishment or disciplinary measure. Okay, that being said, the official Army record contains no mention of any unit of the United States Army having lost its colors to the enemy during World War II, the Korean War, or the War in Vietnam. There is also no record of any unit have its colors taken away as punishment for any action at the time in the history of the United States Army.
Okay.
Now I will read you this. And this is from the Military Museum of the Chinese People's Revolution. Stated November 28th, 1951. It's 177 centimeters in length, 130 centimeters in width. During the Xinjiang battle in the war to resist U.S. aggression and aid Korea on November 28, 1951, the 4th Company of the 239th Regiment under the 80th Division of the Chinese Volunteer Soldiers found at the spur of the 1100th Highland the headquarters of the 31st Regiment of the U.S. force. Thereupon the company launched a raid, killing the commander, smashing the headquarters, and seizing this flag. So...
But Eric,
yeah.
I thought you said that official Army records contained no mention of any unit of the U.S. Army having lost its colors during that conflict.
Correct. There's also the 8th Cavalry Regiment during the Korean War. During the Chosin Battle, also got beat up real bad and sustained heavy losses. And there's no official record of them having lost their flag either, but it's believed that their flag was captured during battle also.
Yeah, that one, this site that you gave me actually specifically mentions, like, by name. I guess it's one of the more consistent rumors about losing colors. It also, it's weird because it says that there's no record of that. And then it says there have been several rumors concerning various units losing their colors. These are generally false. But it doesn't say these are categorically false.
Yeah.
It just says they're generally false. So,
and they also just don't talk about the one that's on display in China. So
it's kind of weak language. Yeah, so yeah, the one in China, right? So that's really interesting because it begs the question of, well, how would they have it in their museum there if it wasn't taken at some point?
Yeah.
Do they have any... Well, I guess you said the accompanying text, at least that's on the website. I'd love to go to that museum, but I doubt I'm going to be there anytime soon. I don't know. Like, what is the Army's, like... Do you know? I don't know if you know the answer to this, but do you know the Army's official stance or line on, like, why that flag would be in a museum there?
I don't. That's, I'm sure if you went and talked to some public affairs officer at the Pentagon, they'd tell you some sort of story like, oh, it's a fake, it's manufactured. They found it after we retreated to the 38th parallel or whatever. Like, I'm sure they could have came up with some reason to try and pass it off other than they kicked our asses and took our flag.
Yeah. Yeah, even finding it, though, like, even if that was the line or whatever.
I mean, that's definitely
somebody had to lose it.
It's a bad look for that unit. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine being that poor private, like, marching south and then like, oh, God, I left the flag back there, like, keeping it as under wraps as possible. Like, maybe nobody will ever notice.
And then, but you're lucky, though, because then when they go to take your colors as punishment and discipline, you're like,
yeah,
sorry, I already lost them.
Sorry for partying, bro.
Yep. And I'm sure in that case they just let you off easy.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that would be an embarrassing way to like, because I guess there are technically like two definitions, if not more, of lose. So like
Hmm.
lose in the battle and then hand it over, or just like, oh shit, where'd it go?
Yeah.
Which I'm sure like
It,
that war got, well, war is hell. I mean, like I'm sure I can imagine misplacing shit. I don't know. I haven't been there
yeah.
to war, but
And the thing is, like, this flag looks in good shape. It's not tattered, and there's not bullet holes, there's not scorch marks, things like that to it. So, maybe it is someone left it behind accidentally,
yeah,
because other reports of flags that were replaced after intense battles, like, oh, it's just in such disrepair, so we need it replaced. Well, this one looks pretty pristine.
yeah, 31st Infantry Regiment. And then as far as the like, it's a fake or it's, and I'm not even saying that they're saying this, but those are the ones you thought of are kind of the only excuses I can think of too. As far as it being a fake or whatever, you have to think about like back then, there's no internet. You're going to know national flags. You could fake a national flag fairly easily. Sew together the Japanese rising sun, for example. But you'd have a harder time. I don't think it'd be impossible. You'd have a lot harder time finding this exactly the 31st and then
Yeah.
reproducing that. And
But
that's
also,
my uneducated thoughts on it, but
what's the point of the 31st Infantry Regiment? I mean, why not go for like the Grand Army flag that's, like MacArthur would have had with him when he was in country? Like, go for something big. You're going for a
yeah.
unit that has 800 people in it. Why not go for something grander? It's like, you know,
Yeah.
pick on someone your own size. You're gonna take like the smallest kid on the block's lunch money. Like, I
Right.
don't know.
Yeah, if you're going to brag, go big.
Go big, especially when you're telling your people in your country everything that you want them to know. So, like, you very well could have put,
Right.
you know, First Marines Expeditionary Unit, and like we got their entire like flag. Like, who's
Hmm.
gonna deny it? So it's just strange that it's that one flag.
I want them to do a 2022 version of that where they, I don't know, they go up to the ISS or whatever, wherever they go when they go to space, and they bring back like a Space Force flag. And they're like, guys, we kicked Space Force's ass.
They take the flag that the astronauts planted on the
Yeah.
moon.
Or that one. Oh man, that would be the ultimate loss of
Yeah,
colors, the ultimate flex too.
yeah, that'd be. I mean, I wouldn't like it, but it would kind of make me laugh at least.
Honestly, me too.
Spend $1 trillion just to like steal someone's flag. Like, that's the ultimate capture the flag. Like, we got this so well hidden, man. It's not even on this planet. And then
Right,
they
right.
just pop back in there.
Oh man. Yeah, or just make a fake US flag and say you did that. That's the cheap version.
There you go.
And all reports by the US to the contrary are lies. So don't believe that. We went up and got it. Yeah, no, that is that one's pretty damning. Is that's the most recent one that you have a tale of, I believe.
Yeah, or at least most recent era. Like I said, that 8th Cavalry is Korean War also. So, but I can't find any official records of that.
Yeah.
Any evidence of it, at least. Because I tried.
Yeah, those might be the kind of things where you have to do some digging because like everything that's like official army or even like tangentially related is not going to say anything about that. But then if you go too far to the other side, you start getting into like conspiracies and it's like, wait, okay, I was with this guy until he said he also believes that. All right. So, yeah, that'd be it. It's a tough one to find anything on. I did a little bit of digging. I wanted to come in a little blind too, but couldn't find much of anything on the 8th. And yeah, we'll kind of go backwards through time here to the next one that you wanted to talk about. I believe it was the one from Minnesota.
Mm-hmm. It's the 28th Virginia Infantry battle flag from the Civil War. It was captured by a Minnesota unit in Gettysburg, and Virginia wants it back, and Minnesota says no.
Yeah, I guess that's like a lot of the story. We don't really have too much detail on how it was captured, other than firsthand accounts of the battle, I guess. But they're all kind of the same. It was mayhem. All my friends died. So
Yeah. Do you want me to describe it, or?
yeah, go ahead and describe it.
Okay, it's a red field with a white border with a blue X in the middle that's also bordered by white with 13 stars, white stars, 5-pointed stars, and 28th is on the left side, just stitched in, and then VA Infantry, which is Virginia Infantry, on the right side of it. And it looks like I don't know if that's battle damage or just wear and tear, but there's several holes around the bottom of the flag, and
Yeah,
it's basically your typical stars and bars Confederate flag with 28th Virginia Infantry stitched into it.
yeah, and like you said, well, for one, like notably, it's square, like properly square too. But also, like you said, yeah, it's got all those. It's got its own battle wounds and scars and kind of holes and rips and tears in it, as opposed to this one from the, what was it, the 31st Infantry from Korea, where that one, like you said, it looks not quite pristine, but it's in a lot better shape than this one is. This one's also older, but still, this one looks like it was in the thick of it, whereas the other one maybe not as much.
Yeah.
And I loved reading this article. Honestly, this website, as you mentioned when you sent it to me, is not great. Pop-up ads everywhere and all that. But I do think it's the funnier of the two articles as far as like the back and forth between Minnesota and Virginia. Because it's very matter of fact. Like the person who wrote this, yeah, I don't know, it's not the most like well-written, or I don't know, I guess it's fairly well researched, but not the most well-written article, because it just is kind of like Minnesota says this, then Virginia says this, then Minnesota. But yeah, I'll go ahead and like read a couple of them. It says Virginia has asked for return of the flag for more than 100 years, and each time Minnesota has refused to return the hard-won symbol of victory, which I totally get. A president demanded return of Confederate flags. Congress passed a resolution ordering return of the flags. Virginians even threatened suit to get their flag back, and the answer has been the same: no. So I like to think of it as like Minnesota's just like got their arms crossed. They're like, I don't know, it's their week to pick the activity or something in school, and they want to do what they want to do, and they won't be swayed. No, nope. You're not getting your flag.
Yeah.
It's bigger than I thought too in this picture. Sorry, go on.
My dad's from Minnesota, and so I've got a lot of family up there, and I can just 100% imagine them having some southerner all indignant coming up to them saying, "Give me this thing," and they're just like, "No," and just walking away and going back to fishing and drinking Grain Belt.
Hell yeah. Ice fishing, probably.
Oh man, they love it.
Oh, I would if we had that kind of weather. Tennessee, not so much.
It's not for me.
Minnesota will be more like here before we're anything like them. But yeah, it's just like, I think the next 5 paragraphs they all start with in and then the year. It's like in 1961, Virginia asked for it back to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the Civil War. Minnesota said no. In 1998, Virginia Civil War reenactors asked for it and eventually threatened legal action. A Minnesota historian said, "Blood has been shed for that flag. Who are we to return it?" Which I fully agree with, for what it's worth. And Minnesota Attorney General Hubert Humphrey III said that despite a 1905 order that Civil War relics be returned, Virginia had no right to it. And then, yeah, Jesse Ventura, which is kind of who I pictured when you said that your dad was from Minnesota. I don't know why. I pictured Jesse Ventura as like Minnesota dad, I guess. In 2000, they asked for it again. He said, "Why? We won. We took it. That makes it our heritage."
Yeah.
And what are you going to argue with Jesse the Body Ventura? No, I don't think so.
I don't think you can anymore just because he's kind of crazy, but
Right. Well, yeah, that's true. I'd love to see a little Civil War reenactor go one-on-one with Jesse Ventura, though. Oh, is that a fake gun? That's cute. These are real
Yeah.
guns. For the
I'm a
listeners.
sexual Tyrannosaurus.
What a nut. He's fun, but yeah. I wouldn't want to go one round even with him either. So, you know.
No.
But yeah, this one, there's like, yeah, blood has been shed for that flag was the quote, but I think I even read in here that I don't know if they've tested it, but there's spots that look like they are blood on the flag too. Not sure if those are maybe on the reverse or something, because I can't quite tell from this. Or it could be dark red on red.
It could be kind of interesting and funny. All the heritage, not hate, like stickers and flags that just go and write 28th Virginia Infantry on them, so that it really is just like the heritage of capturing their flag and never giving it back.
Yeah. Yeah. That's your heritage.
Yeah, that's like how to fix that.
You
problematic
lost.
thing.
Yeah, you lost. We won. We took it. That makes it our heritage. Like, all right, hands down. Yeah, this one is very cool. I did a little bit of like just kind of like I said, casual research, and as that other thing said, other than the examples we've mentioned today, it doesn't seem like any colors have been taken off U.S. military since the first one. It says is World War II, but from what I gather, a lot were in the Civil War.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, the units would use their flags to show their positions on the battlefield so that the commanders in the back can keep track of where everybody is. And basically, since the invention of radio, you don't need that kind of location because you're giving away your location, but also you could just radio back and be like, hey, we're, over here and
yeah,
we're getting beat up and whatever else. So unit flags now are usually just at the command headquarters, and then they're used in ceremonies. Other than that, you don't ever see them. So
yeah, I was gonna say I read on one of the things that you sent me that, well, exactly what you just said, that modern tactics don't call for it, so they don't bother bringing it into battle proper. So which makes sense. So a lot harder to
imagine having an Air Force flag on top of a drone. It's like, what good is that going to do?
Especially for aerodynamics, that thing would crash so damn fast. Like, yeah, that would be pretty wild. The drone squadron comes in and there's like just one with a flag, kind of weaving and bobbing, trying to stay right behind it.
Its nose is constantly being pulled up by the drag.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't like go too far in depth in the Civil War, but it seems like a lot more were captured than probably mostly Confederate, but not exclusively. And
yeah, I'm sure. I mean, it's just kind of the nature of the beast, especially back then with military tactics. I mean, it was like you go in and you tear them apart, and it was not unusual for an entire unit just to be wiped off because they got caught in a bad position, and 80 soldiers got killed and 6 survived, and those 6 guys aren't giving a shit about their flag. Like, there's no unit left.
Yeah, no, they're more concerned with their lives, and rightly so at that point. Yeah, very cool. I kind of like the I mean, I hesitate to say that I like this flag given what it is, but I do like the I don't know, the squared offness of it. And I guess a lot of infantry regiment ones are like that, but are they still? Actually, I don't know.
In general, they're more like swallow-tailed.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Not necessarily to like a great extent, but there will be kind of an indent taken out of it, so it'll flap a little bit better in a slighter breeze because they don't get used very often. But larger brigade and divisional flags will be more like the 31st Infantry Regiment flag, that kind of size.
Okay, gotcha. And do they usually have like the gold frill that I forget the word for.
There's I don't know how true it is, but there's the old wives' tale that every flag that has the gold tasseling was made during a time of war. I don't know if you've ever heard that before, but that's the urban legend I've always heard.
Mm-hmm. I've heard that.
And so I don't know how
don't
true that is, but usually unit flags, like small company and battalion level, aren't going to have that kind of detail to it,
right.
especially nowadays.
Yeah, to me the like frills, fringe, whatever you want to call it, since I'm apparently not going to look up the word this episode, but to me that just, it reads as like just way more formal. Like I could see it, in one of those things where they like have the 3 flags in the background or something, where the US one's like in the middle, tallest, and then like a couple other ones kind of going off like that.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like this is the kind of flag that somebody would be giving a speech in front of, instead of, like you said, I don't know, running into battle, especially nowadays. Yeah. And all right, we will move on to this third one that you sent me. This one I didn't really read much about, if any.
Yeah, so it's a massive Spanish flag from the Battle of Trafalgar that the British captured from a 74-ton Spanish warship called San Ildefonso, which of the defense, from the defense, I don't know. And it's 10 meters by 14 and a half meters. And pretty much ever since they captured it, it had been just kept in storage, and they pulled it out for like a day to display it for a Nelson exhibit.
Okay,
but
right.
It's torn to hell. It's faded. Even like the crest of Spain looks slightly different than the current flag.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like it's just got like a turret and a horse, and I don't know what that is on the top.
That would be the crown, I think. So this was from when Spain was, I think, just Castile and Leon.
Okay.
The Castile is like I forget there's a term for this, but they use a castle to represent Castile, haha, and a lion to represent Leon, and then the crown at the top, I think, just means, it's a monarchy of these. Whereas today, I think they include like Valencia and a couple other regions or something. Today it's 4 or 5, because I think Granada's at the bottom. This, dude, so this is the one, like I said, I didn't really look much up on this one. I saw from the link, like the description, in the link, that it said something about Napoleon.org is the site. So I knew it must be from around then. But it wasn't until I clicked on this and started looking at this picture that I realized those are people standing around it.
Yes. Yeah, it's incredible just how small they are.
Yeah. I thought it was a small flag, and those were like clips, like putting it somewhere. And then I was like, wait, why is that one yellow and all the... Oh, that's her arms. Those are people.
Yeah, it's a very large flag.
Yeah, for the listener, I will definitely check the show notes. I will definitely put this picture up, because, yeah, it's almost like I don't know, like a trick of the eye or something. Especially because there are no people on the... Well, there's one, I guess, on the bottom. So I thought they were clipping it from the top and the sides to make it hang up. So, yeah, do we know anything special? It was on the San Ildefonso, and it was from the Battle of Trafalgar. Okay. Yeah, so that would have been the old Spanish flag. It was in use from 1785 to 1931, it says. And other than that, not too much different. Oh, it's made of wool bunting, woven 1 ply by 1 ply. Good Lord. Imagine like the work that goes into something like that too, just from that standpoint.
Oh man.
I mean, I'm sure you have a team do it, but
I mean, especially back then, I mean, how many sheep did they have to shear to get the wool for something that big?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And like, Is it unbroken? I guess it couldn't be. There's got to be some point where they're kind of tied together. I don't know much about like, what is it called? Like textiles in that industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea how that works. You can kind of tell on the lower picture that it almost looks like they maybe sewed together like several bands, not just the red, yellow, and another red, but like several evenly sized ones or something. I guess you would have to when you're talking about that scale. Man, I'm not on boats very often, but even for like a ship, this seems huge.
Well, it's got 74 guns on that.
Yeah.
That seems, I mean, that had to have been a massive ship. Maybe they were using that as like a sail.
Shit, maybe. Yeah, I mean, it seems feasible. Or, yeah, 74 guns. Yeah, like you said, I didn't think about the scale of that. That is huge. Maybe this was their, like, literal and figurative flagship. Like, it may have been, like, the biggest one in the fleet. And,
yeah.
I've never looked up where flagship comes from, but it might come from, like, that. Where the,
makes sense.
The flagship was, like, the one with the...
Well, I was just watching the movie Paths of Glory to follow along to Blank Check podcast. And there's a scene where the soldiers are going to go and do a reconnaissance on the German embattlement, and he asks what the password is. And when I was in, we used a slightly different term for it, but the passwords, like log into something, is what they would call so they can get back behind their own lines. It was a secret word of the day that would rotate, and it's their password. I'm like, holy shit! I melted. I was like, man, that just killed my brain.
Yeah. Okay, so that you can pass this checkpoint back to your... Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. You know what? Since I didn't look up what the fringe and frills are called, I am going to look this up. just restore balance to the podcast and everything. So, yeah.
The thing that you're probably not going to use again on this podcast versus the thing that you probably will use again.
Yeah, probably. Flagship, yeah, noun. The ship in a fleet which carries a commanding admiral. I knew that. Why is it called the flagship? The original meaning of flagship is the ship on which the commanding officer of a group of naval ships sails, due to the fact that this vessel flies a particular flag. Okay, so like how different ranks, not different ranks, but what am I looking for? Like the head of the, like say for the US, the head of the army has his own flag. The secretary, I guess. The secretary of the Navy has their own flag, and it rotates like with the title instead of with the, with that person, obviously. So yeah, I guess it would have been the one that had the admiral's flag, signifying it's probably also the biggest ship. It's signifying, okay, admiral aboard. That's the flagship. It's got his flag. All right. Not exactly what I thought, but related.
I've been looking up the North Korean flag. Apparently now it's the 4th tallest flagpole. But I can't find any dimensions on the actual flag to compare it to the size of the Spanish flag.
It's a state secret.
Yeah, but the flag, the North Korean flag, is 595 pounds.
Good Lord. Okay.
Yes.
Probably not made from wool.
No.
Probably be heavier if it was.
Oh my God.
It wouldn't fly at that. I'm surprised this big fucker flew.
Yeah.
Honestly, that looks heavy as shit. I guess you're out on the open ocean. There's probably some good wind most of the time, but yeah, well, look, shit. Look at us doing research, trying to get stuff right instead of just saying, I don't know, the listener can look that up, which is my usual strategy.
I also dropped a photo of that North Korean flag in the chat, I think.
Oh, okay.
Okay, here's dimensions of that North Korean flag. 30 meters by 60 meters.
13 by 16? Wait, 30 by 16?
30 by 60.
30 by 60
meters.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Weirdly, I mean, you can tell that it's big, right? Like from this picture that you sent me. But I think it's just how tall the flagpole is, and the fact that they have to take this photo from the other side of the DMZ. It doesn't, like, I don't know. It's not, I want it to be grander.
It's one of those things, like it's like looking at a windmill like from the highway. It's like, oh, that's not that big, and then you actually get off the highway and you drive up to it and you're like breaking your neck to look at it.
Yeah, I can imagine.
That's 600 feet off the ground from 2 miles away.
Yeah, good God.
I mean, that is a...
Yeah.
Actually, I think, doesn't Mexico City have the current largest flag?
I have no idea.
I used to keep up on
That's not really... Yeah. A lot of things I kind of stumble across in researching other things, but I haven't stumbled across that stuff yet. Flag size. It's definitely interesting. I've been more obsessed with like flag dimensions here lately, but yeah. So it's 30 by 60, so 1 by 2. That one's easy to remember. I was looking up the significance of the gold fringe on U.S. flags, and it just says records indicate that fringe was first used on the flag as early as 1835, but not till 1895 that it was officially added to the national flag for all regiments of the Army. And then for civilian use, fringe is not required as an integral part, nor can its use be said to constitute an unauthorized addition to the design. So you can put it on there, you just don't need to. It is considered that fringe is used as an honorable enrichment only, and then in parentheses, military tradition. So, all right. I didn't figure out what it's called, but listeners will have to tune in next week for that one. I'm going back to my old ways. Yeah, man, those are very cool. It wasn't until you mentioned it, as I said earlier, that I even really thought about the taking of colors of flags, things like that. I guess I had heard of it and knew it was done, but yeah, I never really like looked into any specific stories of it being done. And since we're like looking up origins of things, is that where the game Capture the Flag comes from?
Probably.
I don't know if you would know the answer to that, but it seems like probably, right? Or some kind of, I don't know. They seem too closely related for it to not have anything to do with it anyway.
So not to bring it back to this North Korean flag again, but speaking of Capture the Flag, there had been a long-standing rumor that Soldier Fortune magazine had like a $1 million bounty on anybody that can get the star out of that flag or something like that.
I've heard that.
It's just a rumor. It wasn't true.
Okay.
But that's something we definitely talked about as we were looking at that flag. It'd be like, man, how do we even do that?
Yeah.
But of course.
Yeah. No, it's good. That's a real good way to get killed or tortured trying to do that like as a civilian and sneak in or whatever. Yeah, no thanks. Not for me. Plus you'd need a team to even carry
it's
it.
600 pounds.
Yeah.
Like I'm especially back then, I was a pretty strong guy and I could hump a lot of gear, but like doing 100-pound in over mountains like that is incredibly difficult. But 600 pounds.
Yeah. Good night.
You need a truck or a helicopter.
Yeah, the logistics that would be involved in getting that would just be, impossible. I mean, I don't know of a better word for it. I was going to say a nightmare, but I literally think it's impossible. You're not doing that.
Maybe if you had that plane system from that Batman movie where he jacks the guy out of the building, where it just has like a big pair of like claws in the front and just grabs on. You just grab it and go.
Yeah, that might be the only thing that would work, and that's from Batman. So we'll get right on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sticking with impossible then, if the only thing that either of us can think of is from fiction. All right, so we went over Japan's war flag. We took a tale backwards through history with some captured military flags and some various wars and campaigns. And I'm going to wrap us up with the first... It wasn't when I fell in love with flags. It was much after that. But the first time that I had really heard of this phenomenon of capturing flags. Because as I mentioned a few minutes ago, I had heard of it, I just hadn't really looked into it, didn't know how recently it went. But the first place that kind of clued me in on that practice is in Paris. There's where Napoleon's tomb is. It's at the Hôtel des Invalides, which used to be various things, a military hospital. Part of it used to be, or still is, I guess, a cathedral or a chapel, I think is the word for it. So it has like some religious, significance there too. But they have in the chapel part just kind of all along the sides of it, all of these flags that various French armies, legions, whatever, captured over the span of, 200, 300 years, probably something like that. And so that was the first kind of time I knew that was a thing. And I'm going to share with you a couple pictures from that. Yeah, can you see that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's like taken from, first off, I had it up here. There's 103 of them. And as you can see, if you see that one at the top left, that's the Italian naval ensign from the World War II era. So that would have been taken by either before the Nazis took over France and made, Vichy France, or it was taken by Free French forces. But yeah, I spent so long just looking at this and other pictures from it. That one in the back with the red field with the elephant on it. Yeah. That is Siam, as it was called at the time.
Oh, shit.
Now Thailand.
Wow.
The one just closer to the viewer from that little square one with the black border, confusingly, is from the Black Flag Army that was in China in the 1880s. It's confusing because the only part of the flag that's black is the border and the symbol. The other part.
Well, I can't, I can't read Chinese or Mandarin or whatever, but if you look at the one that's basically the top right, it almost looks like it's an inverse of that, where they just actually have the black field with the white writing.
It does look very similar. I think from looking at the Black Flag Army flag, I think that field was originally red or something and then faded to look white like it does now. But even the information that I'm getting on CRW flags, which is a great resource, I'll link this page in the show notes too. They do as good as they can, but they can't identify all of these, or some of them have, faded and torn too. It's actually pretty interesting because I was reading that when it was more used as a chapel, I guess for the military hospital, if you're going to have a military hospital, there's going to be a chapel there. I mean, shit, look at the Air Force one out in Colorado. That one's really cool. Anyway, when it used to function more as a chapel and not a museum, which it currently is, they didn't really take care of the flags. They kind of just put them up there and then let them decay, because it was almost considered that when that flag is finally, been eaten up by moss and finally decays,
that's the ultimate victory.
So gone is our enemy. Yeah, it's the ultimate. Yes, that's the best way to put it. It's not even their flag remains. It's dust on our floor now or whatever. But then when they started kind of redesigning the place and, Napoleon's tomb, like I said, is there, opened it as a museum. Obviously, museums have different standards for that stuff. So I don't think that room is even open to the public at all the times that the rest of the place is. Because I remember one time I was there, I got to go walk in at least a little bit. But the other time it was behind glass. You can take pictures, but you can't go in. So they have it a little bit more sealed up like that.
Is that the black, white, and red? Is that the Austro-Hungary, or on the right side? But it kind of looks like it's either upside down, or instead of that the eagle, it might be a gorilla mask.
Yeah, is it the one that I sent you that's also in the most recent photo that I sent you, or are you talking about a different one?
Nope. That's exactly it. Because they either hung it upside down.
That one that's red on top?
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't
where the
know.
eagle would be upside down if that's an eagle, or it's like a gorilla mask.
I honestly have no idea. It could be from one of I know, like, German East Africa, German West Africa. I think
Hmm.
they had the black, white, red
I didn't even think of that.
that like Germany did, and then they put like different seals
Hmm.
or COAs like in the middle. It could be from something like that. I honestly I don't know on that one. And like I said, even CRW is doesn't have all the info for all these. There's some that are very, very cool though. The let me see if I can find it.
Is that a mouse?
This one that's kind of top center of the one I'm sending you now. That very square one that's got it's a symbol used in Islam a lot. I forget what it's called, but it's like
The
two
eight-pointed
squares.
star.
Yeah, an eight-pointed
Yeah.
star made up of like two squares on top of each other, and then the
Hmm.
crescent moon and star in the middle. But it's like, yeah, it's pretty small. It's red, white bordered. I think maybe my eyes keep being drawn to it because it's like one of the better preserved ones or
Very
something.
bright. Yeah, no, my eye was going to that a lot too. And it looks very soft. Like you could kind of wrap yourself
Yeah,
in a blanket and just be nice and cozy under it.
I could see that. Yeah, that one that you were looking at. I'm really not sure. But if you do go, I've sent you too many pictures now. The third most recent one, there is a German. Let's see, I had
Hmm.
it. The one that's clearly German. Black top, white middle, red bottom, and then the Iron Cross. That was
Hmm.
like an imperial German thing. That was okay. So 86 through 88 are German flags captured in 1915 in Cameroon. So I'm
Huh.
not sure exactly what the numbers are, but that might be the one that you were looking at.
Maybe.
The funny part about this German one, there's nothing really funny about it. Although there are less funny German flags. It says if the gray is just a repair, the kind of gray bit that
Hmm.
it's got up top, then it would be the German Empire's naval jack from 1903 to 19. So, considering it was captured by the French, probably we're talking World War One here. If it's something else, if that gray isn't just a repair and it's something else, then they're not really sure because it could be anything that fell off. But the funny thing to me is that flag 90, which I don't know if we see in that same picture, but it's up there somewhere, is a German Imperial Post Office flag. It was in use from 1893 to 1921. So it's kind of a weird flex putting that one up.
I guess.
I mean, I guess you can still capture it. You captured, whatever territory that post office is in, presumably. But
Uh,
I don't know that I'd put up the post office flag.
no. My eye keeps getting drawn to this blue one. Is that a mouse?
All right, I think we're looking at the same one.
It's the second photo that you sent. It's in the first one too. It's definitely more prominent. It's
Okay, right. Yeah, I wish these pictures would show up bigger for one thing. I don't know what that is.
but once again, if it's hung weird, it might be a tiger or something. But just the way that it's being presented, it looks like it's a mouse that's got like a little tail and
It does look like that. Even the flag kind of, because if you look in the first image, I think you can tell better in the. Oh no, you can tell just as well in the second. But it's got its own like that little piece that's like near the top. It's like way
yeah.
longer. I bet that would look really cool blowing in the wind, but I've never seen anything
Oh,
like it. And then it's got the little kind of like I don't know, little V's or like diagonals on the end of it there, which is also very cool just on its own. To have both is next level.
I've never heard of this place. I mean, I'm really enjoying just looking at these different flags and trying to figure out what they might be. And
Yeah, man, I've got even oh, okay, here's a good one. Here's a good one of that flag that was in question for you. Top of that
oh,
one. I
yeah.
can't
So it
tell.
is an eagle,
It's an eagle, but it's got its wings more straight up than out to the side.
but do you think the black would go on top, being hung vertically?
Yeah, because the German, yeah, like if you look at the other German one, black's on top.
So it's just being hung in reverse, which is maybe just an additional little screw you to them that they're hanging their flag upside down and
You know,
backwards.
I
But
just noticed that. Like you had all but like said that, and I was like, "Oh, the wings are going up." No, they're going down, dumbass. It's hung upside down. Yeah, yeah. It might be. It might be like a visual fuck you or something.
yeah,
Because it's clearly upside down. Yeah, the eagle wouldn't.
yeah,
Yeah, it's got a little crown above it, and that's definitely a German eagle. So that could be the one of the ones taken from like German East Africa or German Africa. No idea. No idea. You can see that one that you're thinking might be a mouse. Now that I'm looking at it, I think it's a tiger or no, like a leopard or a cheetah. You can see it in that most recent picture that I sent you.
that's facing into the flagpole. Then it's like, man, what are these people doing? That's not how that works.
Yeah, it's weird actually. Traditionally, animals do face the hoist side of the flag.
Really?
It's bizarre, and I had to like really like I don't know, just visualize it in my mind's eye, and kind of figure it out because I think a lot of it is like what military stuff. Like if you're carrying it into battle, then the animal is looking forward.
Yeah.
Right. So for that purpose, you would want that. But like now, at least in the Western world where writing is left to right and stuff, Arabic is different, and others. But now it makes more sense to me to have it face, I don't know, aesthetically, if it's just a flag like up on my computer screen, I think it looks better if the animal faces the fly side. But if you're carrying it, I think it does look better on the hoist side, facing hoist. You'll see the eagles facing what would have been the hoist side if they didn't fly it upside down. It's not always done, but like California's flag is like that too. The bears facing that side. I don't think California has carried their flag into battle many times.
Probably not.
Maybe like, the internet battles, the great shitposting wars, but other than that, I don't know, man. But yeah, dude, I could look at these pictures for days.
If I ever make it to Paris, that'll definitely be something to check out.
Dude, absolutely, yeah. I've lucky enough to have been a few times, and I try and go here. Every time. Depends on who I'm with and if they want to go, but yeah, it's very cool. And it's tough too because there's not a really easy way to look it up. Like I had to go through. I mean, CRW, like I said, has a lot of info, but other than that, you'd think there'd be more online about this, and it's hard to find if there is.
Like even looking at what you just sent, the top left one looks like 2 sets of 3 French fries and a red letter E.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, wow, what the hell? I don't know if that's like a feudal Japanese kind of, because of how they have the actual like pole that is hanging from reminds me of that kind of image. So maybe I just, it's Japanese writing and I don't know what it's actually saying, but even just the placement of it looks kind of haphazard and random because it's not aligned in any specific manner and they're rotated strangely for 2 of them.
Yeah, even zooming in on it, I can't tell. What we could do is if we find the Italian one and we can work backwards. All right, it looks like those are Druze flags, Druze, which I think is like an ethnic group in Syria, in like the Levant. Yeah, captured in 1925 in Messifre, Syria. And then the ones next to it are earlier than that. So yeah, I don't know if you can zoom in here on Discord. I've got, a little bit more flexibility here on mine. But yeah, even zooming in, those are just symbols. They're not any kind of writing system. I mean, well, I could be wrong. They don't look like any kind of writing system, other than the E's that you said.
Sanskrit? If you're majoring in a 5,000-year-old dead language?
I tried to teach myself Hindi one time. You can guess how that went.
Oh, man. I've tried to do...
That ain't Sanskrit, but yeah.
I've tried to do Spanish on Duolingo a handful of times, and I'm not good at it.
Yeah.
I tried taking Spanish in college just to eat up a credit. But the problem was this class was in the German language class, so all of the decorations and posters were in German. Well, I took German in high school and I lived in Germany for a year and a half. And my German's a lot better than my Spanish, so I was constantly translating the Spanish word into German into English so I could like make sense of it, and I did not do good. I dropped the class.
Yep. I know how that goes. Yeah, especially ones that aren't, related like that. I had a hard time learning Spanish coming from French because when in doubt, I would like just make up a cognate, and sometimes it was right, but more often than not, it was. It was like, what are you trying to say?
Yeah.
Fuck it. Yeah, that's pretty much wraps up what I had to say about those. I just sent you a little, I guess this was like a postcard or some kind of press thing or something, but advertising the newly taken Prussian flags, or I guess German. Yeah, German is what it says here in French, not Prussian.
Delmont. Yeah.
Yep, infantry, Landwehr, Pomeranian. Yeah, but it's funny because I don't actually see those flags in any of the pictures that I sent you of the current ones, but there was also a fire where a lot of these flags were held, and I've only been able to, like, the ones that I read that escaped it obviously say that they escaped it, and they're still here, but I don't know which ones didn't make it. So it could be that a lot of these weren't.
That's pretty badass to like have an advertisement of like, hey, come check out our flags that we just stole off our neighbors.
Right?
Like, that's just like one. No, we've got a dozen of them, all different units that we destroyed.
Yeah, yeah. Especially because I wonder what year this was. If it's
I mean, that has to be World War One. I'd imagine.
Could be. I don't. This rings older to me.
I don't know when else they would have had really large enough fighting to have this many captured regimental flags.
Okay, I think I might have the info. So there's a black and white picture of them carrying it in. I thought this information had the date on it, but okay. So this is kind of what I was thinking, but it's confusing. It was during the Franco-Prussian War, 1870 to 71. But if you remember, the French lose the Franco-Prussian War in 1871 and lose Alsace and the Moselle Department of Lorraine. So I guess this is either mid-war propaganda or propaganda kind of in quotes, or it's like, hey, I know we lost those regions, but we got these flags. It could be just post-war propaganda to try and get morale out of the toilet. Yeah. Like, I have no idea. 1871.
I gotta check that place out.
What's that?
1871. I gotta check that place out. We've been talking about going over to Europe.
Yeah, man. If you get a chance to go to Paris, that's one of my favorite things to do there. All right, yeah, and that's pretty much all I got on Les Invalides. But yeah, absolutely go check it out when you're there, if you're there. Only other thing that I did forget to mention at the top of the episode, which I don't know if I should even bother mentioning because it might spur a whole other conversation. But another flag that's really interesting in wartime is the flag of the Philippines. And do you know that one?
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me.
They flip it over when they're at war.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's funny when people don't know that and they accidentally display it upside down to like the Philippine ambassador. And it's like, what's going on here? No, that's a really fun kind of quirk to their flag.
Yeah, it's awesome because it's the sun part over on the hoist side is like, just you can flip it easily. So the only difference being that like on the normal like peacetime flag, blue on top, red on bottom, and then they change it to red on top to signify war. Yeah, I thought that was
Yeah.
so fucking cool when I read about that.
Yeah.
You can't just, I mean, you
That's
can flip the US flag, but it's more a sign of distress. Theirs is, no, fuck it, it's
yeah.
war.
Yeah. Come on, bro. Let's go.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, man, dude, this has been great having you on. I'm so glad to have somebody who like knows a little bit about some of this stuff too and has that experience.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I've never really had a long conversation with someone about flags before, but it was way more entertaining than I was expecting.
This will be my
I
10th
thoroughly enjoyed
my 10th long conversation with someone about flags.
it.
Yeah, man, I'm glad you had a good time. I mean, it's it's a flag podcast, which gets some people excited, and some people are like, "What exactly?" Obviously, it's a visual medium, so we have to work around those constraints. But I had a blast today, as I always do. Like I was telling you up before we even started recording, I'm always nervous coming into these, and then it always turns out great. So anyway, and that's usually in no small part thanks to my guests. So yeah, thanks, man, for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Likewise. So I know you don't necessarily have any of your content that you would like to plug, but are there any like charities or organizations or anything that you'd like to get some eyes on? Anything like that?
I generally, if people ask me if they want to like donate towards something military related, I always recommend the USO. Um, they're my Amazon Smiles donation, whatever. But there have been more than a handful of times that I've been in a very low point, morale wise, and whatever else. And it's like the USO truck shows up and they're having a barbecue for us and they're playing music and they got, a football game playing or something like that. And it's just like, it's just the best feeling when you're like, you've been out in the field for 30 days and you're eating your 200th MRE. It's like, God dang, do something different. But
Yeah, I imagine that makes a world of difference.
the USO makes a big difference, especially in, the young soldier's life that doesn't have, a big infrastructure set up around them. So I say USO, your local pet shelters, things like that.
Yeah.
Uh, they're always doing good work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, awesome. Well, yeah, thanks for that recommendation. Thanks for your service. You guys, if you listen to this enough, you probably know most of my links can be found at flagged.rocks. I've been having a little trouble with that link, but it just goes to our link tree, which you can find on my Instagram as well, which is at flagged, the number 4 content. Same handle on Twitter. I always forget to plug my personal social because I don't really care that much or go on it. But if you want to follow me, I'm at Darth Plato everywhere. Spelled just like it sounds. No hyphens, though. And yeah, I think that's it. I guess the main takeaway from this one, last week I kind of pushed the Patreon a little bit, but this week it's going to be the Discord. So yeah, if you've listened this far, I know I plugged it up top too. Get in the Discord. This episode wouldn't have happened without the Discord. Eric hopped in there very early on, and thank you again. Thank you for that as well. And we've got a like pretty cool community going on over there. It's, if you're not familiar with Discord, it's just a bunch of us chatting about stuff. We have different like kind of topics and stuff. It's not all about flags. What video game are you playing? What are you listening to these days? Stuff like that. But with, like-minded flag nerds like Eric and myself. So go ahead and hop in there. And I think that's all I got to plug this week. And Eric, you know this as a listener, but I've been asking my guests these last few weeks to come up with, I have a hard time closing out the show. I have a hard time saying goodbye. So is there anything that you can come up with that maybe something a little short and punchy?
Yeah. Get flagged!
Get flagged, y'all! This has been Flagged for Content. Thanks for listening.